Namaste children, how are you? I hope all of you are well and fine. Children, welcome back in the SSC class. Today we are going to learn chapter 5. This is water surrounding the earth. Children, after half yearly examination, we are going to start this chapter concerned to geography. As you remember that in the previous lessons, we have already learned about the atmosphere and the lithosphere, means concerning with landform as well as the atmosphere. But concerning to the hydrosphere, means water, we are going to learn in this chapter. So at the same time, I taught you about biosphere and the importance of these three spheres, means the importance of the lithosphere, the atmosphere and the hydrosphere for the biosphere. So children, today we are going to learn all about the water surrounding the earth's surface. So all of you well know that the planet earth is known as watery planet or blue planet. Why is this so? Yes, you are right. It is because of the presence of abundance of water on the earth's surface. This is well known that the 71% of earth is covered with water, and in this chapter one by one we will learn about the presence of water on the earth's surface, then the importance of water, then it percentage in the oceans and in the pure and impure forms of water presented on the earth's surface. So children, let's start one by one. First of all, I would like to say that we often say that the conservation of water is very important for us. So children, this is surprising fact that the abundance of water is present on the earth's surface about 71%, or you can say that more than 97% of water is in the form of oceans or seas, means it is too much water on the earth's surface. Then why we say that conservation of water is important? It is because of this 97% of water presented in the oceans and seas are sultry or salted, you can say. Then comes about 2% of water is presented in the form of glacier or ice, means it is in solid form. Then comes less than 1% of all the water in the earth is in the fresh form, or you can say that pure form that we used to drink. So this is the division of water on the earth's surface. So children, one more thing I want to explain here, that water is also having different forms. I mean to say in gaseous form, solid and liquid form also. So which is the common form of water? Yes, again you are right. The common form of water is in liquid form. That whenever we pronounce water, we used to imagine a liquid form of water. But when it converts into vapor, it comes in its gaseous form. Then again, it goes up in the higher altitude. We can see the solid form of water in the form of, you can say, glacier and ice. So there are different forms of water also. Sometimes we can also say that in the condensation, in the process of condensation, it becomes in a semi-liquid droplet, you can say. So this is the another form of water. So children, here are the different form of waters, and the most common form of water is in liquid form. So these are the different form of water and the percentage of water that has been explained just now to you. So children, from the very beginning, you are knowing about the water cycle. So like a cycle, the water never comes an end. It is like a cycle. The life cycle of water never comes to be end. So here I am going to explain you about the water cycle. Here you can see that in the water cycle how it runs. First of all, due to the heat of sun, the water changes into vapor. So what we can say this process? This process is known as evaporation. You know that when the water heats and it changes into water vapor, this process is called evaporation. So the very first thing which happens in a water cycle is evaporation, means changing of water into water vapor. This is because of the heat of sun. Yes. Then what is the next process? When the vapor comes when the water comes in the form of water vapor, it rises high in the sky. And what happens there? There it condenses, or it forms a cloud, you can say. How it happens? The evaporated vapor rises up in the atmosphere, and then it condenses into tiny crystal or droplets, you can say, and water to form clouds. In this way it forms cloud or clouds, and this process is called condensation. Then comes the next thing, and that is precipitation. So children, after the process of this evaporation and condensation, evaporation means changing of water into vapor, and then condensation means changing the vapor into tiny droplets, or you can say tiny crystals, or making clouds or the formation of clouds. What happens? When this condensed ice crystal or water droplets grow in size and unable to float in the atmosphere or becomes heavier, then what happens? They fall down over the earth, and after falling down, or regarding falling down on the earth, it changes into drops, into water drops, and this process is called precipitation. So this is the process of precipitation. Now after coming on the ground, what happens with water? Some water seeps inside the ground, and that kind of water is known as groundwater. So children, this is also very important for plants. You can see various plants on the roadsides, in the fields, which are not intentionally planted, but they are growing in their own way, and they are also very green. So from where does they take water? So they take water, this groundwater, after raining. After raining, some part of water percolates or seeps inside the soil, and that groundwater is utilized by the plants, and they help them in their growth. So this is all about the groundwater. Okay children, let's know about transpiration. First of all, just now we have learned about the groundwater and the utilization of the groundwater by the plants. Children, this process means transpiration is the process related to the plants. When the plant derive the water through their root system and return it to the atmosphere in the form of moisture through their leaves, and this is called transpiration. So this is also a process of water cycle, and we never forget the process of this transpiration in which a plant participates. It returns the moisture through its leaves in the process of transpiration. Now children, let's know about the importance of water. First of all, we must know this thing that the division of water on the earth's surface is not equal, and in some areas it receives heavy rainfall or snowfall. There is lot of water, but on the other hand there are some areas which never receives lot of rainfall or snowfall. So to fulfill the need of water in such type of areas, we must conserve water. Then how can we conserve? So By storing the water in large water reservoirs and by conserving water through rainwater harvesting and making dams, we can conserve water and we can use water in that kind of areas where they cannot receive lot of rainfall or snowfall. So this is the importance of water, and we must use water in a judicious way. Children, in this chapter, in the next part of this chapter, we will learn about ocean and various movement of ocean water. So this is a very new and interesting thing in this chapter. So the movement of ocean water is basically of three kinds. So let's know about these three kinds. So the first movement of water of the ocean water is called waves. Waves you all know. Then the second kind is ocean current, that is very new and interesting. And the third is tides. So there are very much difference in between these three. Waves is other thing, ocean current is very different, and the tide is also very different. So we will discuss them one by one. First of all, we are going to know about waves. Children, the waves are the movement in the water body in which water particles move up and down. It is important to note that water actually does not travel with the wave. For example, when we throw a ball into the water, it makes a up and down rhythmic process which can divide it as waves. And we can also see the ball moving up and down on the waves. So this is a pattern which we name as wave. Two or three things is to mind here is that it is because of the wind blowing from the particular direction. This is the way to know that how the water moves here and there. It is because of wind, and it is because of the speed and duration of wind blowing from a particular direction, so that the duration of the waves depends on the speed and duration of wind from a particular direction. So this is waves. Look at the picture, children. In this picture we are able to see the ocean currents. So let's know what the ocean currents are. The ocean current is the continuous movement of mass of water in a particular direction. As you see in the picture, you will get two types of ocean currents. These ocean currents are broadly divided into two types: cold currents and warm currents. So children, these are formed due to the heating and cooling of the ocean water. So the water found near the equator is warm currents, and the water found near the polar region are cold currents. So the ocean current is the continuous movement of mass of water in a particular direction. As we know that the cold water is denser than the warm water. So due to high density of cold water, it sinks down below the warm water, and thus the cold water of the polar region moves slowly towards the equator along the bottom of the ocean, and the warm water near the equator moves along the surface of the ocean towards the poles. In this manner, ocean currents are caused. In the given map, you can observe the distribution of some major ocean currents in the world. These currents tend to move towards the right in the northern hemisphere and towards the left in the southern hemisphere. Children, generally the warm currents flows along the east coast of the continents, while cold currents flow along the west coast of the continents. So in the picture with the red color, the warm currents are shown, and in the blue color, the cold currents are shown. Thing to remember here is the ocean current is the continuous movement of a mass of water in a particular direction. Let's know some more things about these ocean currents. The ocean currents plays an important role in influencing the climate of the coastal region of the continents. If a warm current passes along the coast, it raises the temperature and make the place warmer than the surrounding areas. Similarly, the cold currents make the adjoining coastal region colder. In the coastal areas, warm ocean current cause rainfall and therefore influences its climate, making it warm and moist. But in the cold currents, on the other hand, tends to make the climate cool and dry. Thus, these oceanic currents modify the climate in the coastal regions. Means we can say that the ocean currents can also modify the climate in the coastal regions. Now the most interesting characteristic of these warm and cold currents are to provide the ideal condition for the plentiful growth of plankton. So children, let me explain what is plankton. Plankton is a food for marine life. Now in these areas serves as major fishing grounds, encouraging trade and commerce. The ocean current also help in navigation, where the place where warm and cold currents confluences, they provide ideal condition for the plentiful growth of the plankton, which is the food for a marine life. And these areas also serve as major fishing grounds, encouraging trade and commerce. And the another benefit of this ocean current areas is they also help in navigation. So this is all about the ocean currents.